Okay, good morning, folks. Welcome everybody who have joined us today. Thank you. We're just going to go ahead and give you guys about a minute or so to let in the rest of the folks. Go ahead and get started with our speaker, Beto Arellano, who's from RSM, who's joining us here today. Okay. All right. I'm just going to go ahead and get started. We're at about 32 participants. We'll go ahead and let them in as we go along. Yes, and as my colleague Eva just mentioned, good morning. Tell us who you are, your name, and what school you are logging in from. We had a really great combination of school and community college students. We're hoping the same for today. So go ahead and let us know who you are. And with that, I'm going to go ahead and get started. Hello, my name is Gabriel Chabran. I am the Priority Projects Manager with EXP. I'd like to welcome you to today's presentation as part of our virtual guest speaker series co-hosted with the ProvenReady program. Before I introduce today's speaker, I want to briefly tell you a little bit about our organizations. EXP is a Southern California nonprofit known as the Opportunity Engine. Why is that? Through programs like this one, EXP prepares great students like you for a better life. Our programs help you gain experience, unlock doors, build confidence, and succeed in school, career, and life. ProvenReady helps build tomorrow's workforce today by giving high school students the opportunity to learn more about college and career opportunities in business, entrepreneurship, global trade, advanced transportation, and logistics, and the opportunities to earn industry certified credentials in those various sectors. Check out our websites at exp.org and provenready.org, or follow us on social media. Now let's go ahead and get started by giving a warm welcome to today's speaker, Beto Arellano of RSM US LLP. Thank you. I'm going to go ahead and give you a little bit of background on Beto so you can get a good sense of who he is and where he comes from. Beto Arellano grew up in Los Angeles, where he graduated from Southgate High School. Beto attended UC Davis, where he earned his Bachelor's of Science in Managerial Economics and double majored in Contemporary Leadership and Chicano Studies. Beto continued his education at UC Davis and obtained a Master's of Science in Accountancy. After graduation, he began his career at RSM in San Francisco before transferring to RSM Los Angeles office in mid-2019. He primarily serves clients in the financial service industry with an emphasis on private equity funds, venture capital, small business investment companies, and fund of funds with portfolios ranging from 50 million annually to over 20 billion annually. He has practiced public accounting for over 5 years. Beto works hand in hand with his clients to fully understand the areas of audit to ultimately understand and foster the growth of their business model. Beto oversees all areas of audit and ensures that audits are performed effectively in a timely manner when ensuring all requirements and are met and mitigating risk. Okay, so that's just a little bit about Beto. He will get more into it. Feel free to ask him questions too as well. Without further ado, Beto Arellano from RSM. Good morning, Beto.
Good morning, everyone. Happy to be here. Glad you guys could join us. Like I said, thank you for joining us. Really excited to be here and really present what RSM and ultimately what public accounting is, and then potentially if it's potential career for you one day. Like Gabriel mentioned, I'm with RSM. Our logo is at the bottom right-hand corner. If you ever kind of see it around, that's us. And our motto is like really the power of being understood. And what that means is we really want to work hand in hand with our clients and really get to know them at a more deeper level rather than just see it as a business transaction. We want to be able to work with our clients and help them and really grow with them, because the more they grow, the more successful we are as well. So like I mentioned today, we'll go over what public accounting is and why you should maybe consider it as a career. Hopefully I can kind of break some of the typical thoughts people have about public accounting or accountants. I know sometimes we get a negative connotation. So just a little bit more about myself. Like Gabriel mentioned, I'm an audit manager here at RSM. I've been here for a little bit over 5 years, started my career in the San Francisco office and now here in the LA office. I was born and raised here in LA. I'm a first generation college student, so my folks migrated out here, and with their support, I really was able to get to college and get to where I'm at right now. So I'm really thank you for all their support, and just probably a little bit slightly different introduction slide that you've seen. I just kind of want to highlight some of the stuff that I like to do on my free time outside of work. Like I mentioned, accountants sometimes get a bad rep. People think of us as those like just penny crunchers or like the people with the pocket squares and whatnot, which nothing wrong with that. It's just we do stuff outside of accounting, right? We're not just into our screens and Excel workbooks all the time. We do like to have some fun and just want to highlight some of the stuff that I like to do, just to hopefully give you some perspective into what an accountant also does. So just kind of give a quick overview about RSM. We're in over 87 cities in the US. So we do have wide reach in the country, and we have over 12,000 professionals nationwide. We do have a international presence as well. We're in over 116 countries. So we do have opportunities elsewhere if that's something that's of interest. Something that's dear to my heart is culture diversity and inclusion initiatives. So what this is essentially our firm really taking a leap forward and really trying to get our business to really look what our communities look like, right? So we want to match because our market's changing all the time. We want to make sure that we bring that diversity and that thought process to our company. So a big part of that is our employee network groups, or what we call our ENGs. These I like to think of just as your school clubs. There's tons of clubs at school, and you kind of join the ones that really you find an affinity to. So similar with these, you're able to join one, you're able to join all of them. I'm personally a member of all of them because there's tons to learn and obviously understand different people. So I really enjoy being part of all of these. The one that I'm really active with and really take on a leadership role is the one at the top center, OLA. That one is focused on helping our Hispanic and Latino professionals really transition through their career once they join. And also the other part of it is really helping with the recruiting, getting talent into the company to make sure that we get that diversity and we get those professionals that are going to do well for our firm. So we are heavily involved in recruiting and really reaching out to our community and doing a lot of stuff like that. So we do have a lot of fun outside of just doing accounting. So we'll jump into what public accounting is, kind of give you a sense of what it is and kind of hopefully maybe break some barriers. So for starters, what is public accounting? So public accounting is what we would think of as just working with a lot of businesses. So we have the three main branches: is tax, audit, and consulting. So we're working with what we call the private sector or private accounting world, which is more the private businesses, or when you think of just like your regular companies, like your Best Buys, your Apples, your Googles of the world, we're working with them. On the public side, we're working to help them with their accounting. So we'll dive into those three main areas of public accounting, and hopefully that gives you a little bit better sense of what road or path you might want to take. So like I mentioned, I'm an audit manager, so this is my favorite one so far. There are opportunities to explore others, but this is where I've been at my career at RSM so far. An audit, every company requires to get an audit. Everyone they kind of think of like the companies that I mentioned of the big companies of the world, like the Googles and Amazons, they require an audit. But even smaller companies that you might think of, like just in your neighborhood, they probably are getting an audit. A lot of the times, an audit is required for a company to be able to grow. And sometimes how they grow is being able to take on debt. So a lot of times they are going to a bank and asking for a loan. So for a bank to understand that the business is doing well, that they're a business that they could trust to give a loan, is by the company getting audited. So we come into the picture as a third party, being independent, really working with this business and trying to understand their business model. So what we want to know or understand is how much, let's say, cash do they have? How much money were they making in revenue? Like how many products did they sell? Do they have debt to other people's or other banks or other the government or kind of the companies? So we really want to understand their business model and what they're doing and make sure that they're reporting everything accordingly. So then we'll work with the client to make sure everything looks right so that they're able to go get this loan. They're able to like really get the funds to be able to grow their business, and we'll help them as they grow. Obviously with growth, there could be growing pains. So we'll advise our clients like, hey, you should account for this differently, or this is what we've seen in other companies that's worked for them that could work for you. So we don't only like to get there and I think people think of auditors like we go there and we just tell people what they're doing wrong. And it's a lot more than that. Obviously, there is times if they are doing something wrong, we need to advise them like, hey, we noticed this is wrong. Maybe you should do it this way, or you should take this approach. But what we're really trying to do is really understand their business and how to help them improve their current business and get them to grow. Because like I said, if they grow, we grow with them as well. So it's a win-win for everyone. So yeah, so that's kind of just a high level kind of dive into audits. And if there's any questions there, feel free to ask them. If not, I'll jump into the next area, which is tax. I think when people think of accountants, this is the first thing that people think about, especially during these couple months, right? Everyone's filing their personal tax returns, and that's what people think of an accountant, the person you go to give your W-2 or your tax forms to do your returns, and hopefully you get a refund, or they give you the bad news that you have to pay a little bit. Well, it's a lot more complex than that. Every business needs to do a tax return as well. So there's different type of businesses. There's corporations, there's small businesses, the individuals, and there's different type of tax implications that they may be dealing with, right? So you could imagine that if an individual's or a person's, like let's say your parents' tax returns is pretty complicated, imagine a huge corporation like Apple. They have tons of different things they have to think about. So that's where we come in and really help them understand what the tax law is, what forms they need, what buckets to fill out, and really go through that process with them. And with taxes, it gets really complicated. You have your local differences or issues that you may need to worry about. The state may have different rules, and then at the federal level, the country may have different rules. And then if you are working or you have operations outside of the country, which a lot of companies do now, you have different type of implications. So if you already have differences at a state level, at the national level, imagine once you go to a completely different country. They have their own set of rules, their own set of tax rules, regulations. And if you're doing business in multiple countries, think of a company like Apple. Their product is worldwide, right? They're selling everywhere. They have companies and plants everywhere. So they have to worry about every single country's jurisdictions and what those taxes look like. So our professionals are really there to help them out and really help them understand that. And in the tax world, laws are always changing. This is probably the area of the three where things are just constantly moving, constantly changing, a new administration, new laws, and just things really keep you on your toes. So our tax professionals really have to become experts and stay really well trained and versed in the tax world to be able to assist these companies. Because ultimately, at the end of the day, they're really trying to help the company pay their fair share of taxes. They don't want them to overpay and they don't want them to underpay. You want to make sure that they're doing the right amount and they're doing right by the IRS so they don't get in trouble later on. That's kind of like a high level as well on tax.
Students, if you have any questions, feel free to drop them in the chat, especially anything that comes to mind with regards to what Beto is saying. If if you need to know, like, what is an audit, or, can you tell me more about what wealth management means and that kind of thing, feel free to just go ahead and drop those in the chat, and we'll be happy to read those out to them. We also will have a Q&A portion afterwards too as well. But go ahead, Beto, keep going.
Perfect. All right, so we'll go over the last area, and I'll kind of give you a glimpse into the life of each of these areas after I kind of cover them. But for consulting, this is a very, very wide breadth kind of area. There's so many specialties that you can go into. So tax and audit, they're more, you major in accounting and you kind of take that route. With consulting, you could be majoring in economics, you could get a business degree. There's people with marketing backgrounds. There's people with computer science majors or computer engineering. So you get tons of different folks that go into this area. So you have people that are working with businesses to really ultimately help solve a problem. So let's say when Amazon was growing, right? They're known as a company that is amazing with logistics and their shipping. It's just amazing. So they got some help in trying to figure out, how do we make this better? How do we streamline it? And now other companies are seeing them like, how do we become quicker, faster, so we get our products quicker to our customers? So our consultants will go in and look at how a company is currently operating and be like, we see this, there's a bottleneck here. think we consolidate this or change certain business processes in order to help their business become just more streamlined, faster, more efficient, to get their job done better. There's folks in consulting that help with fraud. So if someone in the company was stealing money, they go and find how were they doing it, who's the person that's doing it, how much money was stolen, and really dive into it. And they help the company create control so that doesn't happen again. There's mergers and acquisitions, another big one. It's so when a company either buys another company or two companies become one, there's a lot of implications that comes with that, right? So how much do you pay for that other company? Who's kind of getting their fair share? What are the regulations you have to follow? What's the paperwork? You can imagine there's tons of paperwork you have to fill and kind of how to go about that process. So we really guide them through all that. And wealth management, like you touched earlier, really helping our clients really understand and really grow with their wealth and really help them manage their portfolios. Just kind of working with them like, hey, when you're thinking about for your future, like consider doing these type of investments or towards your retirement, or this is what you currently have, this is what you might consider investing in. So really help individuals really set their financial planning. So I'll dive into the life of each area a little bit more. In the audit world, very familiar with that. Obviously, since I'm in audit, you tend to travel a decent amount. So you're at your client's site pretty often. The client could be in the LA area, they could be in the San Diego area, they could be in a different state. So you get the opportunity to travel to different locations. You obviously put you in a hotel and you're there for the length of the job, right? So if you're there for a week, you're exploring that city for a week after you're done with work. So it's kind of like what I like to think about a mini vacation. A lot of our auditors have gone to different countries. They've gone to like Spain, they've gone to like the UK, they've gone to Japan, to China, to Mexico. So you go to a lot of different areas. The tax side, it tends to be a little bit more closer to home. If you want to be able to come to the office, kind of have a little bit more of a routine, be able to come in, have your cup of coffee, and really work with your team at the office. Tax tends to do that a little bit more. Not to say that they don't go to client sites and they don't travel, because they do as well, but it is a lot more infrequent. So you do kind of have that routine at the office, and some people really appreciate that. And consultants are probably the ones that travel the most. I feel like consultants are always on the plane. They always have frequent flyer miles. They get essentially the top tier airlines because they're always going everywhere. So they're really working with their clients at the client side to understand what their needs are, having meetings with them, and really getting intimate with the business as if they're almost a member of the business, to be able to assist them and really give that advice and solve whatever issue they may have. At all of these, you're dealing with the folks at the top level. You're talking to the CEO, Chief Executive Officer, the Chief Financial Officer, the Chief Operating Officer. So you're talking to the folks that are making the decisions for the business right when you start right after college. So I know that's a little bit intimidating, but at the same time, it's pretty cool because there's not a lot of jobs that give you the opportunity to really talk to the person that's running the company. So it's just kind of something unique to the field. All right.
Beto, we had a question about from Eva about traveling. Sounds like a huge perk. What other benefits come with your career?
One of the big ones I think that everyone's always excited about is food. There's always food around for us, snacks. You always get tons of food everywhere. As like I mentioned, as part of our CER Culture, Diversity, and Inclusion initiatives, our employee network groups have tons of events. So year round, we're having events where you're able to network with other people that you don't usually see in the office. So you get to connect with a lot of folks and just have learn about different either cultures or different traditions and have different type of foods and just really connect with folks throughout the company, which makes your experience at the company that much more personable rather than just showing up, doing an 8 to 5 and then going home. So that's really great. Travel's amazing. We do get a lot of kind of like fringe benefits. So like we get travel perks. So we get our parking expense here. So if you're ever in that, like if you work here and you need to come downtown on your own time, you have a parking space. So there's a lot of stuff like that right now during busy. We call busy season. It's the busiest time of the year for us. In the evenings, they always bring us dinner. If you're working late right now, since we're home, we're able to order dinner to our house. So go on DoorDash and just order something to eat. So that's pretty cool. So there's a lot of great perks that you can take advantage of.
Alacron wants to know, during the pandemic right now, how are you guys talking with them right now? I'm assuming them being your clients. How are you guys conducting your meetings?
Yeah, so we use what we call WebEx, which is very similar to Zoom. We'll jump on meetings and we'll talk to them. And it's been really interesting experience transitioning to it because it's pretty personal, right? We're in people's homes now. Not everyone's at the office, so when you jump on Zoom, you're inside their house, which has honestly made it a lot more personal with our clients. You see people's kids, you see people's dogs walking around, so it kind of breaks that seriousness sometimes of the meetings and just like, oh yeah, we're all human here and we could just have some fun. So I think a lot of our client relationships have actually grown and become more personal because of it. But yeah, similar to this, we jump on Zooms, we share what we're kind of looking at and just talk through things as if we were in person, as if we were there in their offices.
Great, great. Another question is, how many years did you study in college?
I took the long route. So I did a lot of community college courses through like junior high, high school, and even afterwards. So I did a lot of courses at ELAC just on my own time, trying to figure out a couple of things. And then I went to Davis. I was a super senior. I really enjoyed college. So I did 5 years for undergrad. That's when I got my major in manager economics. Ventured onto the world. Wasn't really liking what I was doing and went back for my master's. The lovely part about the program that I did, it was only 1 year long, 6 years in total of college, I guess, or university. Seems like a lot, but it was definitely very memorable and made some amazing relationships.
Great, great. And I see Polly has a question. I'm gonna let you get to this next slide though, because I feel like it kind of goes into it a little bit. But go ahead and take us away on this next portion, and then I'll get to Polly's question in a second.
So we'll kind of dive into why public accounting. We like to think of it as kind of like a golden ticket. It's an exceptional career where there's tons of growth and there's always a high demand. So there's always a job out there for you. We joke around. There's always a need for an accountant, even though we get a bad rep. There's someone always needs an accountant. That kind of really helps have that job security right off the bat. There's a lot of opportunities within public accounting and outside of public accounting. So when internally you get to grow, you become an expert in an industry. So obviously, when you start, you start looking at where you might want to go. Do you want to work with clients that are more technology based? Do you want to work with clients that are more like banks? Do you want to work with clients that go make products for folks? Or like we have makeup companies or companies that make clothes. Like what type of clients do you really want to work with, right? So once you get a taste of everything, you start to what we call major in a certain area and you become an expert in that field. So you really work more closely with your clients. So with that expertise, let's say public accounting isn't where you want to be for the rest of your life, which nothing wrong with that. A lot of people do start in public accounting and make the jump to what we call private accounting. I mentioned earlier, private accounting is more working for your local business or your company. So it could be anything like Google to a shop or a company in your local neighborhood. Everyone kind of has some type of accounting implications, whether they need to do their books or some type of tax. So you could always take that expertise you gain from public accounting to the private world and help run a business or even start up your own business. So once you do make the jump, or if you make the jump to private, you can become one of those like the top folks, right? Making all the decisions for the companies that we get to work with on a daily basis and be that CEO. Or people have gone to government areas and they've become like FBI agents and they're like out there trying to find a fraud or discover kind of like white collar crimes. So there's tons of things for you to be able to do with a accounting kind of background. You don't necessarily have to stick to only doing audits all the time or doing tax returns all the time. So there's tons of areas you could grow outside of public accounting. And even during these tough times, there's been a high demand for public accountants. We've been able to keep our employees, luckily. We were able to get raises, which even in this tough market was obviously welcome for us. Everyone was really happy about that. And our business is doing pretty good and growing still somehow. That just kind of goes to show the demand and the power of public accounting.
Great, great. So I got two questions, Polly's that I mentioned, and then I think Rocio's question afterwards will kind of go into that. Polly's question is, do most people go into accounting because they like accounting or for the exit opportunities? What are some of the exit opportunities from accounting? You touched on that a little bit, but maybe to kind of circle back to that first part of that question.
Yeah, my personal experience, I'll start from there, then I'll kind of make it a little bit more broad. I never thought I would have gone to public account or accounting in general. I took two courses in undergrad that were very general and broad, kind of like intro. And to be honest, I hated it. So I was like, I'd never understood it. Didn't make sense to me. I thought it was a completely foreign language that I was never going to understand and brushed it off. Kind of as time went by, I really got a better understanding. I had friends that were doing accounting and noticed it was a different area. It was just a lot more different than what I expected. So I looked into it. I retook the courses. They made a lot more sense to me once I kind of took that mentality switch, and I really started enjoying that. And I think the part that we don't do the best job at is really helping others understand what the job looks like on a day to day. Like I mentioned, you're working with folks a lot. You're working in teams, and that has been honestly the best experience so far because I'm not just doing things on my own. I'm working with my people. We're training. I'm getting constant training. I'm having to train, and we're working with our clients constantly. So there's a lot of teamwork that goes involved, and that really makes a huge difference when you're working through your day to day. You're all trying to face together, so it's pretty interesting. But from a lot of our students, you get a variety of different reasons. Some folks understand, like, have a better understanding of what it is because maybe their parents or friends might have started doing it, so they want to go into that public accounting world. And some others do see just the job security and they're like, let's do this. So once you start, you kind of get that sense of what public accounting really is, right? And if you choose to stay, there's, like I mentioned, there's tons of growth and there's a lot of opportunities to keep growing. But if you do want to exit, there's tons of areas you could always exit. But like I mentioned, the job security is great.
Beautiful. Thank you. And Rocio's question with regards to the pandemic. During the pandemic, are audits conducted with difficulty as we're all now remote and electronic?
There has been some areas where we do have to adapt. A lot of our work is done on our computers electronically. A lot of the support we're getting is electronically. So for the most part, it has been fairly simple in that sense. We were already kind of set up to work remotely because we were working at our client's site, right? So we were in their offices. So we need to be able to access our servers remotely or not just only be in the office. So we were pretty set up for that. Where we did struggle a little bit is sometimes there is certain support or certain information that is easier to get in person. Certain procedures, like we do inventory observations. So if a company owns, let's say one that I've done is I've gone to pretty much someone that sells coffee beans. I had to go to their warehouse and do a sample of their barrels and the type of coffees and make sure that they actually had the beans that they said they had on hand. So now that that's different times, we've had to do them virtually. So we've adapted to where folks are carrying on the laptop and we tell them, hey, we want to be able to count that or get an idea of what that is. To people being on FaceTime and giving us a tour around their warehouse. So it's made things a little bit different. We've been adapting. We've done a pretty good job, I think, at it. But luckily, we're pretty set up to work remotely.
Great. Yeah. And so another question that Amy had is, even before the pandemic, was a lot of business conducted online?
Yeah, so a lot of it was in my personal industry. We tend to do most of the work in our office. We go and meet with our clients when we need to, because the type of clients I serve, at least, they have smaller offices. So, and it's only a handful of people running the operations. So a lot of times we're just doing the work out of our office, so we're not a burden to them. And we do go when we have meetings with them. We'll work there a week or a couple of days just to make sure we knock out certain procedures. So we were already kind of doing everything remote. Other teams tend to be at the client side the whole audit. For them, like I said, they're already kind of set up to work remote because we don't have to be plugged in at the office. We just kind of take our laptops anywhere you go, anywhere in the country, anywhere in the world actually. Just as long as you have an internet connection, you're able to log on and really do your work. So it's been pretty helpful to be able to do that during these times.
Very cool. Okay, the questions are pouring in, but I want to let you go ahead and wrap up. We've got about 9 minutes left before we need to sign off. So go ahead and finish up the rest of your slides, and then we'll go ahead and move on to the next questions as they come in. But keep them coming, folks, in the chat, please.
All right, and we just have one more slide, so we'll jump into Q&A right after that. Or actually, sorry, 2 more slides. So just opportunities for growth within the company. So there's always a lot of continuous education going on. So you're always learning. Every year, you're always kind of doing something different, new responsibilities, new type of clients. We get new clients. So it's always constantly changing. You're not just always doing the same thing every single day, every single year. So you're always experiencing new things, which I think, at least for me, I really enjoy that. I don't get bored of my job because I'm always doing something different. Obviously, it does have some of its challenges because you're constantly having to learn something new and adapt. But I'd rather do that than go stale and not learn anything. And then I'm doing a monotonous job 24/7, right? So you do have a lot of that growth. There's diversity in our clients and industries. Like I mentioned earlier, you're able to work with different type of clients that are similar to Apple, clients that are like a restaurant, clients that are hotels, clients that are banks, you name it. We have clients of that industry and we work with them. So you're able to kind of pick and choose where you want to work with or what type of clients you want to work with once you start. And you get exposed to leadership within the firm and our clients. So once you start, you're able to talk to the partners, and we'll go over what that means in a little bit. And you're able to work with the people that run the operations at the client, which is great. And the variety and concentration. So it kind of goes hand in hand earlier. You're able to deal with a lot of different industries, clients, and experiences. So in public accounting, the growth kind of like levels are pretty set in stone. So you know what you're getting into, you know what you're aiming for. And it's not like a vague world of how do I keep on moving that. Right out of college, you start as an associate. You're there for 2 to 3 years. Then you go to senior associate for another 2 to 3 years. And then you make supervisor, manager. And once you hit manager, it starts really becoming performance-based, how you're working with clients, how you're training your people, what you're really doing to help the firm grow. Because at that point, we're hoping that you're going to become a partner. And our partners are actually owners of the company. So it's not like you're just an employee, you're just doing kind of like the work. You actually own a piece of the company. So you are really intimate and you really want the company to grow. So once you kind of pass that manager level, you're hoping to become an owner of the company. With that, one thing I do like to mention, like mentioned earlier, there's great job security, but the pay is also great. Like I said, during these times, we've been able to get bonuses, so it and raises. So once you start as an associate, right now in this market, at this current time, I think on average it's about 65,000 to start, which I know isn't all the money in the world, but to start right out of college at 65K is actually pretty good. And then from there, as you keep on moving up every year, the raises are above average raises. So you're getting really healthy raises. And the more you move up, your paychecks become a lot more and more healthier. So I'm sure the partners really do enjoy their paychecks. So another kind of plus that I'd like to plug in. Joining public accounting, what do you need to do, or what do you kind of need to be able to join public accounting, right? So a few things that we look into more that you should consider is if you have should be joining public accounting are some of these skills. Do you have problem solving skills? Do you enjoy just getting the puzzle and solving it, right? Technology is always adapting. Do you enjoy being able to have the new technology and really work with it? We're always working on our computers as well. So we are always seeing new technologies with our clients and ourselves just adapt to it. High standards of integrity. This one's a really big deal for us. We're going in and we're essentially giving a stamp of approval on a lot of these businesses. So if we don't have the integrity and we're not doing our actual job at high standards, our profession is going to fail and no one's going to trust us. So integrity is a huge part of our work. Teamwork. like I mentioned earlier, you're always working in teams internally with our people in our firm, and then you're also working with the client. You don't work together and you don't communicate, which goes on to the next point. You don't communicate all the time and correctly, you're not going to be able to get the job done on time. An inquisitive mind, just someone that's always trying to ask questions, trying to understand more. Because we want to understand our client's business, right? We want to like just ask those questions to make sure we got everything right. And detail oriented. You want to make sure what the work that you did is actually being displayed correctly. You want to be able to take that fine tooth comb and really make sure that everything looks correct. And lastly, pursuit for knowledge. Like I mentioned earlier, our industry is always changing. So you always have to kind of just be learning, taking new trainings, and really be open to that, because you have to becoming that expert, be able to assist your clients and help them grow. So with that, I'll kind of pause it there. I know that's a lot. At this point, we got to open it up for question and answers.
Great. Yes. And we got a fantastic question that just came through from Rocio. What do you recommend accountants do or say to small business owners who are still, quote, old school and are afraid to be paperless / electronic due to internet fraud / hacking / theft? I work for a small business that still uses a paper trail for all of their accounting, and it's frivolous, with all the handwritten invoices / billing, etc. Honestly, the pandemic happening slightly helped the conversation, but do you have a certain pitch per se?
Yeah, the pandemic has definitely opened a lot of companies' eyes, I think, that they do have to adapt. So as part of consulting, we do have folks that actually go to the business and help them understand. So a lot of times they're just nervous about change, right? We're creatures of habit. So a lot of times we like what we're doing, it's worked, why change it, right? So we don't like to come and approach it as you're doing something wrong, you're behind the times, like you need to change it up, or your business can disappear. Like that's not the way to approach it. So we like to be like, all right, so we noticed this. These are some suggestions. This is what we're seeing in the market. This is how it has helped other companies. This is how it's protecting them. These are like just different avenues of getting them comfortable and showing them what their perception might be is not reality. And that's where, at least on the audit side, we will tag in a lot of the consultants to come help us with that, because they specialize in coming in, helping these companies and upgrade their system, all their infrastructure, and what they might need. What are they currently operating in? Where do they want to be at? What can help them streamline their business? And ultimately, the business wants to make sure that that investment in this is going to help their business grow, right? Like what are the impacts of us going in there and improving this stuff? How's that going to help their business in the end? Are they going to be selling more products quicker? Are they going to be able to reach out to more folks quicker? Because if not, they're just going to have the expense of IT and be at the same level, and they're not going to care for it. So we really have to give them a value add of why they should do this. And so that's the way that we try to approach it. It's just do this because this is how it's going to help your business. This is how you're going to grow, and more suggestion than you're doing this wrong.
Great. Good question. Good soft skill advice too, as well. I think is anything trained to working with people to make them perform efficiently and what have you. This kind of goes into Nancy's question. I know we're almost out of time. What skills and personality traits do you think are necessary for accounting?
I think we get a wide variety of personalities, which is, I think, what makes our job great. We have another motto of be you at RSM. So we want you to bring your personality to the firm. We want the diversity here. We want the different thoughts. So we want everyone to be able to join in. And when I did my program, there was folks, like I mentioned, with degrees in communications, marketing, advertising, psychology. There's people in math. There was an engineering, economics. So there's a wide breadth of experiences, and that really helps us be able to connect and give that advice to our clients. What we do want, obviously, in common with everyone, is to be able to communicate properly. So you definitely want to be able to work on your communication skills, right? When you're working with your team, you want to be able to let your team know updates, let them know where things are at, and not just go kind of like radio silent. And you're also presenting and you're talking to folks at the C-suite, right? The people that are running the company. So you do have to be able to communicate a certain way, both written and verbal, just to be professional, right? So those are kind of big major areas. And the people that really do well in public accounting or in accounting in general are the people that are hungry, right? They're and not food-wise hungry, but knowledge and opportunities for growth in their career. They come in, they want to learn everything. They want to be like a sponge and just absorb everything they can. And the quicker you're able to absorb everything, the quicker you're able to move up, and the quicker your paycheck grows at the same time.
Great. Thank you. We've got a few more questions. I know we're already over on time, but I know we've got some community college students in there. Beto, I want to be respectful of your time. Do you have time for a few more questions?
Yeah, I can do a couple more minutes.
Okay. Somebody wants to know, what are the stressful aspects of your job?
So right now, I don't know if I mentioned this earlier, but right now is busy season. What we call busy season. It typically is from about late January until through April-ish about. It kind of lines up with our tax season. And so our fellow tax colleagues are kind of thinking the same thing, but there's a lot of work that gets done in these couple months. I think we make most of our revenue during these months as well. So there's a lot of work. There's a lot of deadlines we have to meet and just expectations. So you quickly have to learn how to do project management and really be able to jump in and out of different things and multitask. So I think that probably has been the biggest stressor or toughest thing to get used to. Is just sometimes you're doing one thing and the next thing you know you have to jump to do something else to make sure that gets done on time. And then you're constantly fielding questions from different people, right? From different levels. People are working for you, your bosses are asking you questions, and the clients are asking you questions. So you're just often having to just like really feel that, like I mentioned, that's when the communication skills really come into play. So I think during this time, it's probably the biggest stressful times of the year. Like I like to remind our people, at the end of the day, it's a tax return, it's an audit. No one's life is in danger, so your job should not be that stressful at the end of the day, right? We want to make sure that we meet our clients' expectations. We want to make sure that we meet the deadlines, but at the end of the day, no one's life's in danger. So we want to make sure that everyone doesn't stress as much, because obviously I think as we're learning during these times, we want to make sure everyone's mental state stays really healthy.
Excellent advice, I think, just for any professional career, especially these days in the pandemic when it feels like we're all working that much harder in that respect. So I'm going to go ahead and end it there because we're at 10:40, and I know we have some really great questions. Somebody wants to know what your puppy's name is. We'll go ahead and share out Beto's email address following the event today, and just if you need to reach out to him. I know Beto's on LinkedIn also. I'm sure that if folks want to add you on there, that's another great resource as far as that goes. But I just want to say thank you to everybody who came out today. Thank you for the great questions and for engaging, participating in today's EXP / ProvenReady Guest Speaker Series. We'll be having some more coming down the pipeline soon, and we'll be sure to share that out with everybody. So thank you so much once again. Beto, any final words?
Hopefully that was helpful. Hopefully you guys got a glimpse of public accounting and here's on some of the views of accountants. But yeah, happy to connect. Let me know if you guys have any questions, and glad you guys were able to make it, and hopefully you guys found something interesting.